to you.
Yo, what's poppin', all my peeps? It is I, your host with the most Renaissance man who always thinks he can, and champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back in the yard of streams for another edition of the Raw Rewind, presented to you by Pitts and Sara's Wrestling Show, where we take no nights off. And you can't take no nights off here in the yard of streams without the best of West. You can't forget about Sara Marshall. What's poppin', bro?
Hey, yo.
Hi.
How we doing? This is a Super Tuesday.
I know. That's why we're going a little early. We have a lot to talk about. That's another reason why I was like, we need to go early.
We need to go early. There's a lot to talk about. And we have Title Tuesday, WrestleMania Tuesday down in Orlando.
Yeah.
I said to my dad that this is going to be an historic night in wrestling. So when you and I, this is full time and whatnot, and then Peacock or insert other streaming service here makes a documentary about this era of wrestling, they're interviewing us about it. You know, it's going to be that time. I can't wait. And, that's why we're going a little early today, and we're not going to be speeding through, but I'm not going to lie. I don't want to miss anything. That's why I got two TVs in front of me. Nobody is going to play Xbox tonight. It's all about wrestling. So let's just kick off my 3 hours of wrestling.
All
Let's
right.
some wrestling talk about Raw.
All right. Well, I want to say hi to people. Nathaniel says hi. I am watching AEW tonight. Hopefully Adam Copeland challenges Christian for the TNT Championship. We shall see. That would be pretty huge. Bernard is here, and my cat is being annoying. And David, what is up, guys? Let's get straight into it because we want to make sure none of us miss NXT or AEW.
None of us.
Whatever you are choosing to watch. So, first I wanted to talk about this because Triple H is being rumored to now have 99% creative control. I'm buying into it, but I also feel like we need to be a little careful because it feels like this has changed a lot over the last few months. So I'm not getting too excited. However, this is according to the dirt sheets, and they were saying that higher ups are saying that, not that it necessarily means anything, but I think it does for the people who watch the product, that you can tell that Triple H is back in creative control because Johnny Gargano returned after being on the shelf for months. DIY is back. We had Ciampa back on TV and he was challenging Gunther for the title. Cameron Grimes is back on TV after being gone for months. Bronson Reed is winning matches, and we know that Vince hated him. There were 16 women featured on Raw last night.
Xia Li,
Tegan Knox, Kaden and Casey were back. Like, it very much feels like it's a Triple H product again.
Let's get you going. This is just my new after party dance. Just yeah, it's unreal. I mean, you can absolutely feel it that he is got 99% creative control now, which he absolutely should. Look at what he's doing.
There's a reason why they're doing so well. The product is doing so well, despite the fact that they were saying that Vince came back because the product was so bad. I was like, oh my God, he'll literally say anything, dude. It's like so sad. It's pathetic.
It's really sad. And when Triple H in charge, you just see the future. You see the next generation come up and the different stars be featured. And it really relates back to his time when he was coming up in that, the first golden era of wrestling in the 90s and whatnot. It felt like just random people were showing up and more people were getting on screen, whether it was for a 2-minute backstage segment, a 2-minute match, or they're actually getting featured. They're getting on TV. And now you're not seeing that so much with the men. It feels like that's more established, but the women, you're going to see a lot more women superstars be featured. I mean, for God's sakes, the fact that I saw Xia Li is awesome. I think she's fantastic in the ring.
Yeah, we're going to talk about her too. But I also think it's like the perfect time for this to happen, and hopefully it stays, because we have seen certain NXT stars that look like they're ready to be on the main roster, including Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes. I mean, Dragon Lee has basically established himself because he did so well. So I think it's the perfect time for Triple H to be the one to take over, because Carmelo, not the type of guy that Vince will want to push. It would be all about Braun Breaker, and we would all be like, send Melo back down, because like that's how Vince rolls. So it's nice to see that Triple H and Shawn are like on the same page with how they evaluate talent, who they think they're stars, like who they value. Like it doesn't matter their size, their color, their gender. Like nothing matters as long as you're talented and you're good. Then I think they're in a really good spot right now.
They're in a very good spot, and the amount of people being highlighted, it's just I mean, more so the women. If you look at, I would say the biggest weakness of AEW is their women's division. They just don't know how to book it and don't know how to give it the proper time. Where WWE, it's the opposite. You know, there's just too many women, and they don't know how to do it or they're finally doing it. I mean, and they're doing it the right way with Rhea and having her champion, and then building up Becky to be like, no, I'm going to be champion, but it's not because I am the dominant one. It's because I want to give those, wrestlers the opportunities that I wish I had when I was in their position.
It's so reminiscent of John Cena as United States champion, doing the open challenges every week. And it was basically just because he wanted to put over whoever was in the back that wanted to challenge, regardless of the fact that he won every time. It still was like, oh, this random dude in the back. Okay, yeah, sure. Like that's kind of what it feels like that Becky's doing, which is cool.
It's awesome.
And then speaking of Becky, Seth Rollins kicked off Raw, and he pulled a little bit of a Mark Henry, which I was like,
in his own jacket, in his own little retirement jacket.
His cow print or whatever it was. So he came out and let the crowd sing for a bit, and then he just went straight into talking about how tough the match was with Nakamura. And that's when he got into the Mark Henry thing, because he was making it seem like, after that match, I realized how broken my back is. Like, I'm more messed up than I thought I was, and was alluding to retiring or needing to take time away or something. And then he was like, LOL, just kidding. I'm still a fighting champion, and I will fight anybody anywhere, but said that he didn't want to fight on Raw, which I was like, okay, that's fair. I mean, fair. 2 days removed from, being thrown around on tables, on concrete, on the ramp, on whatever.
On mattresses. Yeah.
Let's not. The fact that people have such an issue with that are so bonkers to me.
Oh my God. Cry me if you really are that pissed that he fell on a mattress instead of a concrete floor. How about you go fall on a concrete floor?
I know, from that high.
Mouth breather.
Those are like the type of people that I feel like would get pissed if they knew that guys bladed themselves instead of naturally bleeding. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be so mad that, like, why the fuck are you cutting yourself? I want to see real blood. I want you to get hit and really bleed, not cut yourself to bleed. Those are the type, that's what it feels like.
That was a very good imitation of them. 5 stars. 5 stars.
Thank you. So that was when Mr. Drew McIntyre came out. And in his all black, which we stand. Okay. Seth just reiterates like, hey, I don't want to fight tonight. I'm not 100%. And Drew's like, that's fine, because you know what? I actually don't want to fight you when you're not 100%. So how about it's you versus me for the World Heavyweight title at Crown Jewel. And Rollins was just initially shocked, because he was like, it's kind of odd for someone to challenge the champion and not want them at 100%. Like,
yeah, he's like, I don't want you like dead right now.
Yeah. But he was like, that's cool, whatever. And he accepts the challenge, which I was like, what a way to kick off Raw. I was so excited, because we had talked about, okay, what is happening if Seth wins, because we talked about
it. We didn't want it.
Yeah, we didn't want it.
I'll straight up say it. We didn't want it.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people wanted it. I was seeing that on the internet, I was like, oh, a
Mhm.
lot of people actually wanted Nakamura to win. But then the concern was, okay, well, if Seth wins, where does he go from here? And we were trying to think of challengers, and we mentioned McIntyre, but we're kind of like, I don't know. But like, I love this. I love that this is now the direction that Seth is going in. I'm assuming you do as well.
Sorry, I was taking a little sip of my beverage. Yes, I'm. If there was a way for Seth to win and have his next feud make me happy, this is it. Because Drew was
Yeah.
stale. He was so stale, and this to me now, we're getting that next chapter of the Drew McIntyre saga on Raw. We saw that with how he was reacting towards the New Day. We saw it before. I'm blanking on what happened before the New Day. Leaving people.
It was Riddle.
Just No, not Riddle. I'm saying like he just let the New Day. Oh, Jay. He's still like not trusting Jay, and it's more about like why wouldn't what's up, Drew? Something's going on there, and he's like, I'm just tired of fighting people's battles that I don't have any need to be in. And I love that. And then to just be like, I want a title shot. I'm gonna challenge you now. And then how it and how he's still at the end of that segment, didn't go save Seth. And he didn't he just stood his ground and is not helping anyone. I love that because to me that's not a heel or face. That's just Drew McIntyre, and there's not a lot of that right now out of anyone really.
Well, and I'm excited that that they're putting Drew on this path because it was cool when not long after he originally came back, that he became champion, and that was during a time that I wasn't really watching, so I didn't get to experience that. And of course, it was during the pandemic, so nobody really got to experience it. And if you did, it was from your home,
Yeah.
So I think that it is cool that Triple H seems to at least be hinting at a possibility that he could be champion again, actually in front of crowds, which I think Drew deserves,
Absolutely.
And so it's really exciting to see that this is where they're going. And I don't know if it means that Seth could lose. I really hope it does because I want Drew to be champion. No, I think that I'm also kind of bored with Seth, and that, like I said, that's coming from someone who's a big fan of Seth. I'm just not intrigued anymore. You know what I mean?
There needs to be someone new. Main Event Fro with the super chat. Let's ride.
It's like him and I forget who else. So the only ones who have given us super chats. But thank you.
Keep it coming. We love it. I'll put up your comment every time. I'm loving the storylines they're giving. I love them as well. You actually are interested in what Drew McIntyre is going to do week in and week out now, and it has nothing to do with who he's facing that week. You're more interested in Drew himself.
I feel like and I've said this, I feel like I can relate to this, what he's doing so much right now, just like, maybe and this is just me taking it in my own personal life, he doesn't want to fight other people's battles. Well, that's something that I do too, I'm such an empath that I can like feel other people's issues, and I try and help so much that it's like it drains me, and then I'm like, nope, I can't keep doing this, And so, and then of course, not trusting somebody that has shown you not to trust them in the past. It's like, I understand that struggle of being like, are they a changed person? Are they not? Am I wrong for not just like jumping on the bandwagon? And, I don't know. I feel like it gives him a bit of like a human level that goes beyond being a television, a scripted television show, which I think is really cool.
It's very relatable. What they're doing now with storylines, they're very relatable, especially what's going on with the whole tag team situation too. They're making all the stories really relatable, so you're more inclined to tune in and be on the edge of your seat.
Yeah. So I do really like that. And as you kind of alluded to, we do see that Senor Money in the Bank comes out and attacks Seth as Drew is walking up the ramp, and basically looks like he wants to cash in. We see Dominic come out with the briefcase, but that was when Drew was like, no, okay. no. And he makes sure that Dom cannot give him the briefcase. And then Damien is just really pissed about it. So then we see, that we see that on unravel later. But we first see,
We're going here
yeah,
first. Okay.
not yet.
Okay.
Rollins approaches McIntyre backstage later because he's, I guess, unhappy that like Drew just kind of stood there and then walked away, which I was like, he literally was just telling you that he's not getting involved in anyone else's business. And he prevented you from possibly losing the championship. So I'm not really sure what Seth's issue was, but
yeah, he kind of did
he,
stick up for him just in a different way.
yeah, and that's kind of what he said. He's just like, I said I wasn't going to get involved in anyone's business, but I wanted to make sure that I stopped Dominic because we don't need another bloodline situation on Raw. And I liked that because we've made that comparison before
So many
where
times.
the Judgment Day is kind of like the bloodline sort of in their own way on Raw. And he's right. Like if it did go to the Judgment Day, then you kind of are, you're not just fighting Damian Priest. You're fighting Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley and JD McDonough, maybe. Like it's not a situation that you want to be in.
It's not. You would rather the enemy is better than the enemy you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know what you're going to get with all of those members of Judgment Day, where at least you know what you're getting with McIntyre in front of you, another superstar in front of you. Once you throw multiple people in there, it causes a massive headache.
Yeah, I agree. So then we see the first match of the night. I think it was right.
Awesome. This was the
Ivar.
first legit match.
Yeah, Ivar versus Kofi Kingston in a Viking rules match, which was very different from the last one we saw. There wasn't like a whole Viking ship. It was just kind of like I think it was just like shields, which I mean that's fine. I just was kind of thinking maybe we were gonna get like the whole front of the ship or whatever, but that's fine.
Caboodle.
Yeah, so this was a decent match too, like length of time, very physical. We see Xavier Woods come out. Valhalla returns, which might be some sort of indication of how Eric is doing, which is nice. And I was very pleased to see Ivar win because he did lose last week to Xavier Woods, and of course he wins with the moonsault because come on now,
there's no reason a man that size should do the moves that he does. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, we talk about the moonsault, but there was one move where he went up like he's setting up for a pedigree, and then it was like an underhook kind of suplex with the guy vertical like this, and then he flipped Kofi into a sit-down powerbomb.
Yeah, it's like
that was fucking sick. That was unreal.
I would even argue that him still being on TV or even that part, but also like the Viking Raiders being on TV as consistently as they are is another indication of Triple H. Because those are not guys that Vince is being like, yeah, let's put them on. You know what I mean? It's very much a Vince feeling gimmick, but not one that he would be like, yeah, we want them on TV every single week. And if one of the guys is out, that he'd be like, no, we're still going to put the other one on TV. That doesn't feel like a Vince thing to me, but
he would go over the top with the Viking Raiders gimmick, which we've seen before, like really over the top, where now you have Papa Paul utilizing it where, yeah, he's Ivar of the Viking Raiders, but he's not this like fantasy cartoon character. He's just a dude, like a badass dude who, if you saw in the street, like, yeah, that could be a Viking.
Yeah, remember when they were the Viking Experience? Do you remember that?
What year was that?
I don't know. That was like their name at first, and I don't know if I forget why. But
is that NXT?
No, they were on Raw. I think at one point.
The Viking Experience.
Yeah, very weird. Very weird.
That's tough.
Then we see Ricochet. So it was kind of like, okay, what's going to happen with Ricochet? What's going to happen with Nakamura? That was a bigger question because if he wasn't going to win the World Heavyweight Championship, which he obviously did not, and much to our disappointment, this appears to be maybe his next feud, I guess. It looks like Ricochet is still mad about something that happened weeks ago with Nakamura, and they're just reigniting it. So Nakamura is being interviewed, and that is even being nice because Nakamura was not in the mood to talk, which I was like, I don't blame him. Also, shout out to Nakamura for that suit game. He looked good.
Style and profiling.
Yeah, I liked that
Really
a lot.
was.
He looked good. So he was not interested in talking about anything about the match with Seth or not winning the title, whatever. And then Ricochet just comes out of nowhere and just starts attacking him, and security breaks it up fairly quickly. And later he does come because when Ricochet comes out for the match later, you see Nakamura is like, no, and he comes and attacks him, trying to at least take him out of the match, which doesn't happen. But that leads to Ricochet demanding a match with him. And we see that they are going to have a Falls Count Anywhere match next week. And I am just like, they're going full out with Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, man. And
they're making you watch. They're making you watch programming with matches like this. You don't have matches like this on cable television for no reason, And I do want to point out that Nakamura hit the GTS. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now here's
that.
And I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, it's CM Punk. It's a CM Punk reference." Here's the thing. All right, let's take a couple steps back. That's a Japanese move. That is a move that a guy named Kenta created, and
it almost looks like a little bit of a variation too of the Z360.
A little bit. It was a little bit like that's a move that is a New Japan move.
Yeah.
And Kenta couldn't use it in WWE because of CM Punk. So that is Shinsuke just doing it now with the new era. I know everyone, all the marks in the IWC on Twitter and social media going crazy about it, but I don't see that being a telltale sign. I mean, that's just that's a move that Shinsuke should be doing, honestly.
So how do you feel about them seemingly just ending abruptly what was going on between him and Seth and just having them both go in different directions already? Do you like that?
Yes.
Are you happy with Nakamura feuding with Ricochet?
Yes, because Nakamura just needed to be in a title match to elevate him into that we'll say card, and elevate him. But now with him feuding with Ricochet, now if we're gonna feud with him, that's gonna elevate Ricochet up there as well. So it kind of works both ways. And we've already said it. Nakamura doesn't need a title, to be a champion in the fans' eyes. That makes sense. He needs to be in those matches. He was. So the next step there is he was in those matches. Now let's get people that he was in the mid card with to that stage of the card. And Ricochet's there. It's like he's an inch away. He just needs that one feud to get him there. And Nakamura is that guy that can really pull it out of him, especially with how his heel run is going right now. It's a really good way to really launch Ricochet into that next tier as a babyface.
I do think this is a match that Nakamura needs to win, though.
They need to have a couple. And he needs to win one.
Yeah, I just think that if you're going from a last man standing match to then a Falls Count Anywhere, like if you want to continue making Nakamura look tough, then they have to have him win this one. Because if it's going to be his first one after that big match, I feel like he needs to win this one. It can be a feud that keeps going, but I think he needs to get the win right now.
Yes, absolutely.
But regardless, I'm excited to see it. I mean, that's going to be, I would assume, quite a big part of Raw next week. So I am excited. Are there any comments?
David just saying that he doesn't think CM Punk is coming back.
I hope.
That's neither here nor there. I'll save my thoughts on that. Oh, okay. I guess we're just gonna next comment is about him too. Really hope he doesn't get back. Left a bad taste in my mouth with his recent actions. WWE's better off pushing LA Knight and its newer, younger talent without headaches.
Yep. Well,
I don't
did
disagree
you
with that
see
statement.
I really agreed with what Booker T said about it.
I did.
Um,
I did see that.
Okay, so he said it on his podcast, I think.
Hall of Fame, yeah.
Yeah, he said at this point in time right now, when everything is going so great, not just from an in-ring perspective and an out-of-ring perspective as well, as far as the company is doing great, what does CM Punk add to WWE right now at this point? He didn't just leave WWE, he got fired from WWE, which I'm not sure if that's completely accurate, but
he didn't get fired.
I think he stopped showing up. I think he just like quit, but like got fired because it was like he just stopped showing up. I'm not sure. Maybe he knows more than we do, obviously. He didn't just leave AEW, he got fired with cause from AEW. What value does a person like that bring to your company? I understand it's a double-edged sword because what value does he bring? He's CM Punk. Like, you know, he has a legacy in WWE, but I agree with him where I don't think that there's necessarily a fit for him right now because Raw and SmackDown have their like built their stars made. Like they already have like the top guys on both shows, and then inserting Punk into that situation is then meaning that someone else is going to have to take a back seat who shouldn't have to, because you know they deserve to be the ones being pushed. They're the ones who have been in the company busting their ass every single week or for years, whatever, to get to that point. And Punk would essentially just stroll in and take over and be a top guy because he has to be, you know. So I understand Booker T's take for sure, because I just don't know if this was like 5 years ago, bring Punk back, you know, like I don't like him and I wouldn't want him back after if this is what happened with AEW, you know. But I do think that at that point, yeah, they might have needed him like 5 years ago, but not now.
They don't need him now. But goddamn, how many tickets would you sell if you have CM Punk? That's where my I go dollars and cents. That's where my mind goes with this, and I understand your thought. I just
I just think that
I kind of agree. To be honest,
I think that it's a little bit more difficult because you know we've talked about the impact of social media on wrestling, and I think that's part of it that makes this a little bit more difficult because things that happen backstage are not kept backstage now. You know, there are people who leak it to reporters and dirt sheets, and wrestlers will talk about it, you know? So it's like we know about his backstage antics, and it's been known for a long time, even since he left wrestling. We know that didn't go well when he left WWE. So I feel like it makes it a little bit trickier for them to just like roll him back in and have people care. You know, it's like it's not like the 80s anymore, you know, where maybe Hulk Hogan saying something questionable but controversial, but it's like no one saw it, so you know,
different time.
All right, then we see JD McDonough getting bullied backstage by the Judgment Day, which was really sad. So Priest is pissed.
So tough. Oh jeez, that was brutal.
Priest is pissed because nobody came to his aid when he was trying to, you know, cash in the briefcase. He's pissed because he lost the tag team titles on Saturday, and he doesn't understand why Drew was holding Dominic back. So he's just pissed overall, plus Seth beat him up at the end. And we go to the back and we see him putting JD in a chokehold up the wall. And I was like, this poor man.
It was so funny.
And then I was so heartbroken because even Finn is pissed at him. I was like, he has no allies except for Dom. But that's because Dom is like,
Dom's everybody's friend.
He's just like the puppy that like follows you around. It's like, I love everybody. I love everybody.
Mommy. It's just like a dog. Like mommy. Like,
yeah,
mommy
he's just a little puppy. So
oh my god, yeah.
Rhea tries to calm things down and is like, hey, I got you guys a rematch for the tag team titles next week. So we will be seeing Finn and Damian versus Cody and Jay next week. And he tells Damian, like, don't worry about it. Don't even worry about McIntyre. We'll take care of it. And then they assign JD to take care of Drew McIntyre. And I was like,
yeah, this was you're setting him up for failure. I'm sorry. You're really setting him up for failure here.
So I'm just gonna jump to that because we're talking about it.
We're already talking about it. Let's just talk about it.
So I mean, again, it was a complete failure. It was a fairly quick match. Dom tries to get involved. It just doesn't work. And JD loses. And so it had a point, I guess. But my thing is, what does this mean for Judgment Day? What does this mean for JD? It looks like nothing is going right for him trying to get into the group. So I'm like, what does this mean?
JD's gonna help Damian cash in. That's what it means.
feel like
JD,
it
like,
has
he has to. He has to
Yeah.
redeem himself some way. He screwed him so many times, and there's only one way you can get back on the horse, and that is by helping not only Judgment Day, but the man who hates you the most in
Mhm.
Judgment Day. Help him get what he wants, and that is to successfully cash in his Money in the Bank. So, I especially with how the world title scene is going right now,
Yeah.
I could absolutely see it. I mean, Judgment Day doesn't have their tag titles, so they won't be holding all the gold hostage.
Mhm.
Now you would have Damian and Rhea, both champions in their respective divisions, leading the way. Finn just doing his thing with JD. Maybe they start a little tag team there. Dom's still figuring out if he wants to be on NXT, Raw, or SmackDown. It's that's where I see it going. And I don't. It's just I'm so entertained by it, especially with this match. I mean
Mhm.
that back body drop. I watched it twice. I haven't seen a man get that high on a back body drop and land like that. That
Well,
was
the size difference. That's
oh.
why.
I mean, I don't care what different. It's the fact that he was in the air, which for what felt like an eternity, and then just dropped. I mean, like JD's so good, and he's such a great addition to Judgment Day
I know.
that they're doing it. They're incorporating him intelligently right now, and they're playing it smart by having him just be the scapegoat
Mhm.
of all these downfalls. Now it's time in the next few weeks, maybe like after Crown Jewel, you start to see him actually help them win matches, maybe even win a title or two. Because right now you gotta keep pushing him down a little bit so that moment where he finally helps them is that much sweeter.
Well, because we thought last week was like or a week or two ago was when he finally like solidified his spot. And then it just keeps going wrong. I'm like, it's just like, oh my gosh. And then to not have Finn on your side, I was like, man,
that was tough. That was that I really fell for him.
I know that made me feel sad. I was like, man,
enough for you. I'm like, oh
yeah.
fuck.
But overall, I am glad that they're not moving them on so quickly from the tag titles, because it kind of felt like that once they lost it. Like I told you, I had an issue with them acting like it wasn't a big deal. So I'm glad that is not just being thrown away. I'm glad that we're going to see that. I assume they're not going to win, but what happens after that, I'm intrigued. I just don't, as long as it doesn't mean Judgment Day is breaking up. So
they're not breaking up. Judgment Day is not breaking up. I'll tell you right now.
Then we see Nia Jax versus Raquel Rodriguez, but it doesn't go according to plan.
Nothing does in the WWE.
So there isn't a whole lot to say about this match other than it's good to see Raquel back with her back, but that's about it. Raquel has a back.
Nice cute dimples in her back.
As the match is still happening, Rhea comes out and attacks Nia. They get into it. She gets into it with Raquel. And then Shayna Baszler comes out and she goes after Nia too. They all just start trading hits. Like it's just like the thing says, it was absolute chaos. And then you see Shayna and Rhea step to each other in the ring. And Shayna hit her really good in the face with a knee. And that's when we see Rhea later pissed off because obviously she was embarrassed in the ring, and she talks to Adam Pearce backstage and says that she needs to get the women's division back in order. She said, "Get my division back in order."
Get my division back in order. Damn right, it's your division, girl.
I know. Like,
oh shit! Sorry, Groot. Oh man, Groot fell.
Oh jeez.
I got so excited.
And then she demands he makes a match for her and Shayna next week, which we will be seeing. And even though I'm not like this big Shayna Baszler fan, I talked about Shayna being one of the girls that Rhea should face. I don't even know how long ago I said that. And so
It's in the archives.
yeah, somewhere.
Check it out.
But I was excited because it meant that maybe we're finally moving on from Raquel and Rhea, or maybe we're going to eventually see like a triple threat or a fatal four-way for the title, or someone trying to
Yeah, yeah.
or
Bernard, the homie.
Well, there we go. We're thinking the same. Or even just a triple threat to determine the number one contender or something, you know. And that's more exciting to me because these are, I mean, you know, I guess Nia's whatever, but like these are the girls that should be fighting for the title that are good opponents for Rhea. And so I'm excited that Shayna's been involved in it too, and that we're not just seeing Nia be handed this because she's just returned and like we're pushing her right into the title picture. So I'm glad it's going this way.
I am too. I am. All right. I share your thoughts that
Okay.
I would rather see it be a fatal four-way because all four are pretty dominant.
Yeah.
And it's hard hitting and it's a lot different than what we've seen before, which plays into Rhea as a champion.
Well, it's about time that she gets some real competition. You know, people want to put an asterisk next to her title reign as if it was up to her, like who she's facing and matches that she gets and whatever. So it's like, I'm glad that they're finally doing something, especially with Shayna too, because we know that Shayna's not bad, you know, and you can't just like have all this build up between her and Ronda and then just put her in the back again. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
She's an ass kicker. Like she's an ass kicker, and we need more ass kickers in the title picture in the women's division.
Tim just said that LA Knight is going to be on tonight.
There's no fucking way. Are you serious?
That's what he just texted me.
Dude, this is just...
I'm going to check Twitter to see. Okay, yeah. Jade Cargill, Becky Lynch are backstage. LA Knight is reportedly backstage. Sola Sikoa is reportedly backstage. No! They're just having all of the NXT royalty. Yeah,
this is unbelievable. This show is going to be unbelievable, and if it's not, I'm rioting.
Fuck AEW. That's what I say. All right.
I love competition. I love healthy competition.
So we have another half hour. Let's go. Let's get this going. So
sorry,
we see
comments,
Michael Cole.
But we gotta get to the historic NXT.
Michael Cole goes to the ring and introduces Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes, the new undisputed WWE tag team champions. And, you know, he congratulates them, blah, blah, blah. But he definitely was singling in on Cody, which I was kind of here for because, you know, I still feel like there are unanswered questions about the motives here and why he brought Jay back and why he, decided to be his tag team partner and go for the tag titles. And how does he feel about being champions with Jay, who cost him his world title match? So I don't blame Cole for doing that. He asks Cody, where does this fit into your original goal of finishing the story? Cody basically will not answer the question. Is just like, I just want to be happy. Like, this is a good moment. We won the titles. I'm happy. Yay. Like,
everyone's happy. Yeet.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, all right. And he then Cole goes in and is like, okay, so now that you're tag champion, does this mean that you're unwilling to go after the world title again because you lost at Mania and you're scared of letting people down? You know, how you lost the title kind of like your dad. And I was like, Cole,
Cole's just being a little instigator. He's being a little instigator. It's unbelievable.
He was like, I'm going right for the jugular. I'm going to go where it hurts him, and I'm going to mention his dad. So he kind of was just asking for an explanation on him being a tag team champion, and he doesn't get it because Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn interrupt after they had been gone for like 2 weeks or so, I think. And they did exactly what you said they were going to do. They come out, Sammy congratulates them on winning the tag titles, especially Jay doing it without his brother. But he does share that he is a bit upset that they have the titles because they beat the Usos at WrestleMania to get those tag titles. And so it just doesn't sit right with him to see them with the titles. Kevin is just like, you know what? I don't care. I'm challenging you guys for those titles. Unless Jay is scared of losing them again because, you know, you lost to us at Mania. But they got into each other's face a little bit. And then Cody's like, nope, yeah, we're going to face each other. So when this happened, I immediately was just like, Pat is going to be sitting there like running around being like, I was right. That was the first thing I thought. But I did like this because,
Listen,
because again, it's like that realistic aspect of the story that I think is needed, and we can't just like that's the thing that I take issue with. You know, when I said I had that issue with Jey Uso just acting like everyone is just supposed to forgive him now because he's out of the bloodline, and it's like that's not life. This is how this would be too. It would be Sammy and Kevin would be upset that you took the titles off the guys that took the titles off them, and you're supposed to be their friend. And the fact that it's Jey Uso with Cody, like that makes sense. And so I do like that being part of that story last night.
it makes sense. You're going to be pissed off, and especially with like this is what I like too about what's going on is that they're still continuing that little story between the three of them and Jey Uso. That you know, why did you bring him here? Why are you all buddy with him? And then you win the tag team titles with him, and it's like, all right, you have my titles. Like you took my titles. We want them back, and it's real. I like the realistic element of it, of Sami Zayn being like, yeah, it's my title, but I'm happy for you, you know. We are my guy, Jay, and Cody is Cody. And then Kevin just being like, yeah, Sammy, you can think that I'm pissed, I'm not happy, I want my titles back, because that's exactly what KO would do. They're doing things that would be very spot on for who their characters are, which that's how you know, bringing it back to Triple H in charge. There's none of this bullshit of just putting, you know, a show for a show.
There's substance.
That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. There's substance to all this. And I also loved how Cody and Jay didn't back down either. They also got in their face like, you want it, like, let's go, we'll do it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just, that is what they needed to push this story along so that they can all team together essentially to try to take down the common enemy.
I agree. We'll talk about their match later, but before that, we see a triple threat between Bronson Reed, Chad Gable, and Ricochet.
I don't want to cut you off, but did you see? I gotta ask you about this because this was the weirdest segue or transition into a segment when the camera was so closed in on Chad Gable's chest. Yeah, I was really freaked out for a second.
I was confused, but I also just thought, like, I understand what they're doing, but at the same time, like, Otis doesn't hit like Gunther, so stop. Like, he can slap you over and over and over again, and it's not going to feel at all like one from Gunther. So I just was like, this is so stupid.
I just got like pain, like feeling Gunther.
So it was Ricochet, Chad Gable, and Bronson Reed to become the #1 contender for the IC title, which I was really bummed we saw like no Gunther last night. I was like, really? My heavyweight champion wasn't even on.
I know, that's so rude of him.
It was really rude. So obviously this is a great match. And I was really hoping that Bronson Reed was going to win. And that is because we like big meaty men on here.
We love big meaty men slapping meat.
And it feels like it was his time. Like, they've kind of teased him being a guy to go after Gunther, and so it's like, okay, finally we're doing it. And then for all the people who are upset because of, you know, Reed winning and Gable losing, you have to think about it, like, as Pat says, from the big picture perspective. And that is, like the thing says, like my little title here says, it's just another roadblock on the way to getting back at Gunther, because that's just how it has to be. You can't just keep giving Gable chance after chance after chance. You have to see him like struggle and get back there. So then we find out that they're going to be having this Intercontinental Championship match at Raw next week. And as excited as I am, I'm just like, oh my God, like, can't he ever just like, can he have a pay-per-view match? Like, can we make sure that he has a match at Crown Jewel?
Yeah, why is he just not on a pay-per-view? That
don't know.
boggles my mind. I understand the Intercontinental Championship is the workman's championship. So maybe workhorse, workman, tomato, potato means the weekly episodic shows.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you want to have that on your pay-per-view so that you have them on these pay-per-views, you have people tuning in, and it's like, oh, maybe I should watch Raw? Because you definitely have those fans that just have Peacock and are like, you know what? I work, I yada, yada, yada. They're not us. And they just tune in on a Saturday night because they like it and it's something to do. Wouldn't you like to transfer that wrestling fan into a weekly one by showcasing him on a pay-per-view and then alluding and transitioning you to watch weekly shows?
Yeah, well, and I think that like it also just becomes really confusing when we're supposed to believe, and I mean, I'm not saying that we don't, but you know, they want you to believe that Gunther is like this superior champion, and like going after the Intercontinental title is not easy, that you have to like earn it and blah blah blah, and it's just this and this and that. And then when you keep having him defend it on Raw, it just doesn't make it feel as important as the other championships that you don't have defended on Raw, because like the World Heavyweight Championship isn't being defended every single week. You know, for the most part, he's defending it on pay-per-views. So it's just like very confusing to me. It's like, I don't need the convincing that, you know, it's an important championship, but I feel like if you're trying to build it up to be, I don't know, almost equal to the World Heavyweight title, then by continuously not having them on pay-per-views is weird. It's just weird.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
So I'm hoping that we'll have something on Crown Jewel. It feels like it's an overseas show. Why wouldn't they have something? But
the overseas champion, the Intercontinental.
I know. So I'm just hoping that that something will happen. I don't know if maybe the match against Bronson will end badly, or maybe like I don't know. But they have to do something, because this man cannot be sitting at home for Crown Jewel. No.
Yeah, no, you can't.
So then we have Becky Lynch. We kind of talked about it earlier. It seems like she is NXT Women's Champion for the sole purpose of becoming a Grand Slam champion, but also to put over women that we're not seeing a lot on TV and should be featured. We saw her have a conversation with Xia Li, who returned to TV after I couldn't even tell you how long.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
And she basically let her know that she wants to come for that title. And Becky was like, you know where to find me. Like, I'm going to be here. And she's just the latest of the women that Becky is like, yeah, okay, let's do this. Because we've seen it with Indy Hartwell. We saw it with Tegan Knox. Now we're going to see it with Xia Li. And so I think that might be the reason for Becky to hold the title for a while. Like, I didn't think it was going to be a long reign for her. But I'm not mad at them going in this direction if they're going to have her be champion for a while.
If you're going to have Becky be champion, I don't care if she beats these people. I don't care if she's, winning handily, whatever. It's all about who is she facing in these matches. If she's going to just face like NXT champion and she's going to face like Tiffany Stratton over and over, or even, just for comparison's sake, or like a Natalia or someone else, like, I take it off her. I don't want to see it. But if you're going to take this title and you're going to defend it against girls that we haven't seen in such a long time, but you have the IWC on Twitter being like, where's this person? Where's this person? Yeah. And they're finally getting an opportunity. That's all I care about, because once they get that opportunity, then you kind of gotta at least put them on television a little bit.
Yeah.
So then it elevates the division too, and it's I don't like using this word, but grooming the next division, the next stars in the division.
And we saw that when Becky faced Tegan Nox for the NXT Women's Championship. It was a long match, which
got time. They got time.
Which I was happy about that. I felt like it was a great reminder for people who maybe weren't super familiar with Tegan Nox, but also a good showcase of her for those who maybe haven't seen her or whatever. But I thought it also showed you how good Becky is, because I think you get to a point where you're used to seeing Becky against top talent, Charlotte, Trish, Bailey, whoever she's facing. It's like other veteran girls that are like at the same level as her. So you're like, okay, how is she going to do against maybe some of these girls that aren't as experienced or we don't know as well? And we saw how great of a match she had with Tiffany Stratton, Queens. And then we see how great of a match that she had with Tegan. It was a great back and forth. And we did see Becky win with a disarm her, but she did shake her hand afterwards, which again plays into this whole. I mean, it seems like the underlying reason for why they put the title on Becky in the first place.
Yes, I could not agree more with what you said.
All right. Well, yeah. So I'm interested to see how that's going to continue. She is supposed to be on NXT, so I don't know if that's going to start another thing with her in NXT. Assuming that she's not going to be doing anything else with Tiffany. I don't know, but I'm interested. I'm intrigued, And then I'm also intrigued by my boys. We see DIY in a locker room, and they are being interviewed by Mr. Wade Barra. And they are just talking about how they have wanted to be a tag team basically on Raw for 7 years. And so it's pretty cool to see it finally coming to fruition, especially because Gargano is like, yeah, I've been, waiting in the back for to come back and return or whatever. And we're like, oh, we see you, Johnny. We know what that means. You weren't just waiting for your opportunity. You were being held off TV. And so they're excited that they are finally able to do it and just being like, okay, we're excited to see what the future holds and where this is going to take us. And they talk about Imperium, and that is why Gargano came out last week to defend his boy Ciampa, which is is abruptly ended by Imperium attacking them, and all I could say is we stand.
Yeah, you stand. I don't like it.
Really? You picking DIY over Imperium?
1,000%. DIY are my peeps. Those are my guys. Oh, DIY
they are so your dudes. Guys.
So 1,000%. Dude, you can't. They come
and they're not mine. It's funny. I like them, but if you're gonna put them up against my boys, I'm not going to pick them ever.
I couldn't. This is where we differ because DIY. Oh, I love every bit about them. Where I started really watching DIY was the Cruiserweight Classic. I watched that thing. I watched the entire tournament. I thought it was awesome because I love Cruiserweight wrestling and lucha style, whatever.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I'm like, these guys are fucking incredible. I want more of them.
And that's the thing that is tricky for me in a situation like this, because I do really like Ciampa. I do like Johnny Gargano, but I'm just,
But nothing compares to your boys.
No.
Nothing compares to Imperium.
Yeah, I can.
Imperium.
Oh my gosh. So I was just very excited that we were going to see. It seems like we're going to see DIY versus Imperium. I am very, very looking forward to that. And then I was also pleasantly surprised about Ludwig Kaiser getting a vignette all on his own, just letting everyone know that he is an A+ specimen. He was built by the gods, he is a living piece of art, of perfection. And he is European elegance. And I was like, oh my god, Ludwig.
I can't take it serious. I just want to punch him. I want to punch him so bad. It's just not that is so the anti-me, because when I was watching this vignette and he's just, all right, let me do a little bit of he's just on the bench like going like this, just
Oh my
like,
God.
and then you see the guy come up. He's like, like, ew,
I know.
you American trash.
Yeah.
Get away from me. KO and I had the same exact reaction. What the hell was that? Like,
I
was so confused.
I
during
loved
this.
it because other than the fact that it was for Kaiser, it felt just so old school vignette.
Oh yeah,
You
I
know,
did
it
like
was,
that element of it.
yeah, I liked it. It was just like so pompous and whatever. It wasn't just like hyping this guy because like, oh, look at what he can do in the ring. It's like, no, this guy is like, you know, hot and he believes in himself and he's this and he's that. It was just like, I loved it. I loved every second. But one of the main things I took away from it is, one, this proves that they're definitely all in on Kaiser. And two, what does this mean for Vinci and Imperium?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that. Like, what the hell? Why is Vinci not getting any love here? My only thing that I can think of is they're going to end up having Vinci be Kaiser's like manager when he's not tag teaming, and it's going to be a slow progression to getting Vinci to that next stage. Or I don't even know. I'm just trying to be hopeful here, but like I don't know what the hell they're doing then.
I don't know, but it was exciting because I was happy for Kaiser, but then I was bummed because I was like, what does it say about Vinci? Like, what about Vinci? Vinci isn't just chopped liver, okay?
Apparently, he is the
So,
Gunther. I mean, chopped liver. That's all he does. That liver's being chopped.
alrighty. So then
Chopped.
we see more drama backstage.
Oh my girl, my
between
girls.
Yeah, it was like half the women's
women.
roster. So after Tegan won, well, before Tegan won, Natty was there giving her like a pep talk and whatever, because of course Natty just has to show up for random moments. I don't know.
I'm so over Natalia.
I know.
I'm
Okay,
so
girl, bye.
over her.
So she is there when Tegan is sitting there disappointed about losing to Becky. And she's like, oh my God, girl, no, like you should be really proud of yourself. Like, doesn't matter that you lost. Like, you just did something really great. And then Tegan's just like, whatever. And then Casey and Kaden show up and they're like, no, you really did. Like, you did such a great job. And then Chelsea and Piper
my
roll
real
through.
girl.
Yeah.
I love Chelsea Green.
And Chelsea just immediately mocks them because it kind of was like, what is going on back here? It was like, what is all this weird love fest? What are we doing here? And she threatens Natty and says, you know, don't ever get involved in my business ever again or else. And then Natty's like, or else what? I'm like, can you say anything convincing? Like anything. Just say it like a little bit convincingly.
Natty, right?
Yeah.
Like, or else what?
Just
okay,
like,
that's what I thought.
or else what? And then Chelsea got tongue tied a bit because, of course, like she's not really intimidating to most people. And
yeah,
so that
you see, she goes like, she's like, Piper.
I know. And so that's when Piper steps up and is like, you'll have to deal with me. And then Natty's like, name a time and place. And I'm just like, oh my God. And Piper's like, how about next week? And then she's like, I'll see you there. And I'm like, Natty. So we're going to see Piper versus Natalya next week, which is fine. We get to see Piper on TV. We'll get to see Chelsea on TV.
She squashes the shit out of her. I'm sorry, but I can't stand Natalya.
I do hope that this means that we get Casey and Kaden back on TV. Maybe they'll challenge Chelsea and Piper for the tag titles. I don't know. But yeah, it was cool to see, like I said, like half or more of the women's roster of Raw on TV in segments or in matches. I was pleasantly surprised with that.
It was awesome.
And then perfect timing because we have like 10 minutes until the show starts. I feel like we sped things up, but I feel like we didn't.
We did, but this is a historic night in wrestling,
and we'll be able to talk about it on Thursday. Too,
I think it's a great. You know what? We might just have Thursday show be about this entire thing. So boom, it makes sense.
So we get to the main event: Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the tag team titles. And this is also a really long match. I think it was like 35 minutes, including commercials. In their entrances.
In the right music. Sammy finally got the right music. That was so weird.
I know. At first, when that happened, I was like, oh, wait, is he really going back to that old music? And then when I saw that he came out with Kevin, I was like, maybe this is the music that they're going to use when they come out together. Mm-hmm. But then when he addressed it right away, being like, I haven't heard that in a while. And I was like, oh, Okay, so it was a mistake, which I was like, that doesn't happen. But I don't know. So anyway, like I said, this was a long match. It was very physical. And the thing that I really liked the most, I would say, is that they were really aggressive with each other. Like I said, it was very physical, and they were really testy too, which is not something that you really see when it's two top baby faces in
Teams.
general, but especially
Yeah.
babyface teams against each other. Like they very easily could have just made this like a normal match, like with nothing else added to it. But I liked that there was an aggression from Kevin Owens and Sammy because they wanted the tag titles. And then Cody and Jay were like, no, F you, like we're going to keep these. So I really liked that part, because otherwise I think if it had just been normal and it stayed in the ring and there wasn't that aspect in it, I feel like it would have been a little bit boring.
I love the fact that, going off of the physicality, this felt like four friends that just needed to blow off some steam. Like they needed to hit each other. There was so much pent up aggression right after Jay came over that really has been danced around, and them finally getting in the ring. I mean, you saw the moment that sticks out to me was the beginning of the match, or one of the moments that sticks out to me was the beginning of the match. Sammy and Cody are in the corner, and they're like slapping each other and grabbing, and then Sammy does one thing and like slaps him really hard, and then Cody's like, "What the hell?" Like, and then he goes, and then they go like really back and forth. Like that really felt like best friends just having enough of each other's shit. And then you see like Jay come in, and then the brawling outside the ring. This felt like more than just a tag team title match. It felt more like I want to beat the hell out of this guy to just move on. And you saw that with the end of the match and how that happened, that it was a mutual sign. It was a respect match. It's just an easy way to put it. It was a match about respect.
Yeah, so it did become a super kick party at one point, but we do see Cody and Jay win with their new combined finisher of the Cody Cutter and the 1D. And as you said, Cody and Jay win, and Kevin comes over and hugs Jay and then holds his arm up, which for a second I almost was like, are we supposed to see this? Because it was like kind of an awkward ending, because I think they ended with like 2 minutes until the show was technically supposed to be over. And so I was like, maybe we weren't supposed to see this. But then I think they posted pictures and stuff of it on WWE.com. So I was like, oh no. But I did think that was interesting, and an interesting way to like cap it off, I guess. Like, I guess Jay kind of winning over Kevin, which was, I think, his biggest hurdle outside of Drew McIntyre. So I'm interested to see where that goes, where that brings the storyline for moving forward.
It's going to be very interesting. I like that they got this out of the way so that maybe, next week, they can be like, all right, we got that out of the way. We may not have our tag team titles back, or, Judgment Day may get involved. Like, and I mean, Judgment Day, I mean, the other outskirts of Judgment Day will get involved in that match, and then KO and Sammy stick up for them. There's a lot.
Adding more for Survivor Series.
Exactly. Like, there's a lot they can do there. And that's where my mind is that I want them to give me all the information pieces, etc., to get me as amped as possible for Survivor Series War Games. Because as someone who was at War Games last year, War Games might be the best thing that could have happened, not only to WWE, because that's all obvious, but Survivor Series. Survivor Series was lacking for so many years. This day and age, wrestling fan and just person in general does not care about a 5-on-5 elimination match. They don't. So how do you elevate that while going to that next step of extreme and hardcore and all that, but not like AEW indie style where it's very brash, it's more cinematic, and that's what the difference is between War Games now and Blood and Guts with AEW. And I want to see War Games now. I mean, last year War Games, they told a goddamn what's the word I'm looking for?
Story.
Yeah, but some epic, like a Homer, like the Greek Odyssey type of thing.
Yeah,
like they told that in the ring with everything. I mean, Sammy with the low blow, Jay, like everything like that. you got to elevate that so that it's even more of like a ballad, honestly. And you need Survivor Series to be a huge launching point that just separates the tree of WWE storyline, whatever, and branch off into different branches to get you ready for Royal Rumble and then eventually WrestleMania.
I agree. So that was
Raw. We have 2 minutes left, Sarah. We did it before the most historic night in wrestling history. Oh my God, I'm so excited. And you made a good point. I think we need to just have another AEW WWE talk on Thursday. And you even teased we might have a guest.
Maybe.
What? Someone's going to join us in the Art of Streams again?
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's great. I cannot wait for that. Oh, well, you know what? It's time for NXT. I want every peep that is in the comments, obviously, tuning in. But go and watch wrestling. If you don't, or if you're not like the champ and have 2 screens to just sit back and recline and watch, go pick a show, enjoy it, and enjoy it. That's the one thing I want to say. You know, there's so much negativity and everyone hating on this brand and this promotion. Wrestling's at a golden age. All right. The greatest of all time said that. Enjoy the golden age and enjoy us talking about the golden age by subscribing to the channel, hitting that bell notification to know when we go live, and checking out the archive videos of Sarah and I's old clips. I mean, we're right about a lot of things. Go check. We have the bookmarks or the receipts, as a certain New York head coach likes to say. We have the receipts for all our predictions. So go check those out in the archives. Make sure you follow us on also all social media platforms where they're in the description below. And we'll see you on Thursday for another episode. Thank you for tuning in. God bless. Remember that you could do it. All you got to do is try. We will see you on Thursday. Go wrestling. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.